Monday morning, August 10th, 2026. Western Colombia is just waking up. Commuters are heading to work. Kids are on the way to the school. The coffee-growing hills still cool with morning fog. Then at 7:34 a.m. local time, the ground doesn't just shake, it rolls violently for what survivors describe as the longest 30 seconds of their lives. By the time it stops, dozens of buildings across 5 cities are in ruins. Hello and welcome. You're watching NewsX Deepdive. I'm Shivani Singh. The US Geological Survey has measured the earthquake at a magnitude of 7.4. Colombia's own seismological service and Europe's EMSC network has logged very similar readings. The epicenter sat just a few kilometers east of a small town called San Jose del Palmar in the Choco region of western Colombia, roughly 280 kilometers or about 175 miles west of the capital, Bogota. What made this earthquake so destructive wasn't its size, it was its reach. The rupture occurred deep underground, more than 100 kilometers down, which is actually why coastal tsunami warning centers quickly ruled out any risk of a tsunami. But that same depth meant that the shaking radiated outwards across an enormous area. Scientists estimate that the tremor was felt by roughly 34 million people, not just across Colombia, but in neighboring Ecuador, Venezuela, and Panama, where office workers in high-rises were told to take the stairs just in case. The US Geological Survey's damage forecasting system immediately issued an orange alert, its second highest tier, a signal that is significant casualties and widespread structural damage that is likely. That forecast, unfortunately, proved accurate. By the following day, officials in Colombia had confirmed that more than 160 people had died, with over 500 people injured. Search and rescue teams were still working through collapsed buildings, which means that the numbers were tragically still climbing. The city that was the hardest hit was Pereira, a coffee region hub of around 500,000 people, where officials reported dozens of deaths alone. Nearby Cali, Colombia's salsa capital and one of its largest cities, also saw dozens of buildings collapse, and local officials said nearly 190 people were unaccounted for in the immediate aftermath. In Manizales, another major city in the coffee axis, the historic cathedral suffered visible structural damage, along with numerous other buildings downtown. One of the most harrowing scenes played out at a hospital, where parts of the building, including a pediatrics ward, came down with patients still inside. Rescue crews worked to free them from the rubble as the day went on. Elsewhere, 16 people were trapped for 6 hours in a cable car system above Pereira before they could be brought down safely. Passenger operations were also disrupted at Pereira's International Airport, where part of the terminal building partially collapsed. In total, 7 airports across the region suspended flights, and 5 capital cities were placed under a red alert as authorities assessed the scale of the damage. Colombia's government moved quickly. The country's newly inaugurated president said he was personally overseeing the emergency response just days after taking office. Around 600 troops were also deployed within hours to assist rescue operations, with hundreds more expected to arrive overnight and additional units requested on top of that. To keep the residents safe while such operations continue, through the darkness and amid unstable buildings, authorities have imposed a curfew in the hardest hit areas, running from 8 in the evening until 6 the next morning. International support has also followed almost immediately. The United States pledged over $15 million for shelter, food and earthquake damage assessments, while other governments across Latin America also offered personnel, equipment, and supplies. Colombia's Choco region governor described widespread building damage and injuries in the regional capital, even as full assessments were still underway. Well, this earthquake didn't happen in isolation. Less than 2 months ago, in late June, Venezuela was struck by two powerful earthquakes back to back, magnitude 7.2 and 7.5, which together killed more than 5,000 people and destroyed hundreds of buildings. Now, Colombia has suffered its own major earthquake in roughly the same stretch of time. It's a sobering reminder of where this part of the world sits, along the Pacific Ring of Fire, where the Nazca and South American tectonic plates grind against each other deep beneath the Andes. Earthquakes here are not rare, but a disaster of this scale, twice in 2 months across two neighboring countries, is the kind of pattern that seismologists and emergency planners will be studying closely in the months ahead. Given this earthquake size, one of the first questions on people's minds in Colombia and along the Pacific coastline of the Americas was whether a tsunami might follow. The answer from every monitoring agency involved was no. Because the rupture occurred so deep underground rather than closer to the seafloor, it didn't generate the kind of vertical displacement of water that produces tsunami waves. The US National Tsunami Warning Center confirmed within hours that there was no threat to the west coast of North America, and Colombia's own maritime authority ruled out any coastal damage as well. As of now, rescue teams are still combing through the wreckage in Pereira, in Cali, and in Manizales, searching for anyone who might still be alive beneath the rubble. Families are gathering outside hospitals and collapsed buildings, waiting for word. Engineers are beginning the slow work of assessing which structures are safe to re-enter and which will need to come down entirely. The full scope of what this earthquake has cost in lives, in homes, in the region's coffee-growing communities that were only just beginning to recover from the Venezuela quakes is still coming into focus. What's already clear is that for the second time in 2 months, this corner of South America is rebuilding from the ground up. Let's take this discussion forward with Dr. Naresh Kumar, who is a seismologist. He's joining us on this broadcast. Thank you so much, sir, for your time and for speaking to NewsX. A very good evening to you. Dr. Kumar, I want to understand from you, how can we prevent such powerful earthquakes? We are talking about such earthquakes. In 2 earthquakes we saw in Venezuela, another in Colombia now, within a short span of 2 months. Is this something that people should study about, or should we treat it as an isolated incident?
Yes, this is another hazard, just disaster within 2 months in the southern American tectonic plate, just I can say. And as it is proved, and we always talk that earthquakes are causing the disaster, which are the huge disasters occurring in the globe there. So it is not possible to predict the earthquake till date now, as we have tried very much there, and it is also not possible to prevent the earthquake. The main solution is to just see and make assure that the building which are there, which can be damaged, should be compact enough so that there can't be a disaster. So we can prevent the disaster by making a strong building. That is the only solution to prevent the hazard from the earthquake, as we know there. Now, this earthquake which occurred in the Colombia, western part of the Colombia, which is just at the ring of fire is there, where the two plate, Nazca plate that is subducting beneath the South American plate, and it's moving toward the east and subducting deep into the there. So this is just as the earthquake occurred on the subduction plate, and it is a 7.4 magnitude, which is major earthquake, which has ruptured about 150 105 kilometer to 50 kilometer area at a 110 kilometer. So it is a intermediate focus earthquake, a deeper earthquake is there. In this case, the disaster or just damage should be less as compared to the shallow focus earthquake, the developed which we have seen in the Venezuela, which were the just as a very shallow focus, about 20 25-kilometer depth from the surface of the area. But here it was a deeper earthquake in the Colombia, but it has the effect on a broader area, broader region, as it is the deeper is there. So welding damage and other we have seen. This is just as the again the same scenario which we have seen in the Venezuela for the damage and everything. So main purpose, main reason for this, just we are seeing that those are the buildings which we have to make a strong building to be safe due to these earthquakes are there, and ring of fire, or we can say the major tectonic plates which are just separating or colliding with each other, causing these tectonic displacement, tectonic deformation, which are causing these earthquakes.
Absolutely. Well, Dr. Kumar, I also want to understand from you, we are talking about a golden period of rescue and relief, which is 72 hours. We are seeing urban centers also being damaged. Is there any way where, such countries which are located on the Pacific Ring of Fire, prevent damage from earthquakes, even if they are of such a strong magnitude?
Yes, that is the only solution is that, because earthquake is not going to kill with only these buildings which are very weak building, those are going to kill. So that is the main cause is due to these damaged buildings are there. That we have to make a strong building RCC construction, and that should be the earthquake resilient building. That should be that is the only solution which can be there. And now that 72 hours are mainly crucial, because there is also the aftershock activity, as there is also one 5 magnitude aftershock has been already occurred in this region. So now there will be aftershock, and those the aftershocks will be mainly in the epicenter zone, and that aftershock may cause additional damage, additional destruction there. So that is the crucial time. 2 3 days will be there. We have to take a care, and there is a just as the need for the help to the Colombia government or just the country, that can be just make just as they.
Right. Thank you so much, Dr. Kumar, for your valuable perspective on this issue.